Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM, and today I have a huge announcement for you all. Now, most of you will be aware that this year is 200 years since the birth of the modern railway, and to define that, that's the opening of the first railway that had locomotive hauled trains as per the plan. So the first passenger hauled trains was on the Swansea and Mumbles Railway, but that was a horse-drawn carriage on rails, very different to our traditional trains that we know now, with a locomotive hauling wagons. This was the Stockton and Darlington Railway, which had locomotive number 1 historically pulling that first train, and that's what we're going to celebrate this year. All around the country there are special events commemorating this massive anniversary of rail, and that's very exciting indeed. The highlight event of the year is the Greatest Gathering over at Derby. Now, this has got a whole host of locomotives going. In fact, it is the biggest gathering of locomotives in a generation. In fact, it may well be the biggest gathering of locomotives in this country ever in preservation. It's going to be one incredible show. There are a whole host of things going. Steam locomotives like the Blue King from Didcot, Class 37s, even one of the units from around me, the mainline trains are going. There's stuff from the narrow gauge going, Prince is going, the last steam engine to be built on the narrow gauge in the UK, Tranquil number 4 from Statfold is going. It's going to be an absolutely amazing event, telling the tale of locomotives from that very first train all the way through to what we know today. And as that, locomotives from all walks of life, from all different regions, are coming together. And when I say all of them, well, the Ruston is going. Yes, that's right. Sir William McAlpine is heading off to the Greatest Gathering, and I could not be more proud to have my tiny locomotive part of this absolutely huge once-in-a-lifetime display. Is going to be the greatest honour, and I am so excited for the fact that she's going to go. And I love the fact that she's going to be brushing shoulders with your big mainline performers, huge great locomotives, brand new contemporary trains, full-size mainline diesels, and then a tiny Ruston 48. I just think that's going to be fantastic. These huge machines, tiny little Ruston 48, but also I think it's hugely important that it should be there. This thing represents part of the railway's histories, and without that groundbreaking train, perhaps the railways wouldn't have grown to the size that they were at their peaks. Perhaps every factory wouldn't have had its own internal rail network. Perhaps this thing wouldn't exist. The 48 tells an important part of our railway's heritage, that every factory, every large manufacturing plant would have had its own internal railway. It would have had a machine like this to move the wagons about. Now, previously to this, you'd had a steam locomotive, but as soon as internal combustion came along, it made a load more sense to have your own diesel, because rather than having to get there several hours before and firing up the locomotive, for a small yard where you just had to move a wagon to the main line on Wednesday, and then collect another wagon on Thursday, and then on a Monday and Tuesday move it between some shops, the 48 made complete sense, because you could just turn it on when you needed it, turn it off, rather than this huge paraphernalia and fuss of getting a steam engine ready. This was the forklift of its time. So to have this machine, a true icon of industry, of smaller scale manufacturing, is a really, really exciting part. And I am just really, well, I'm honoured. I'm honoured that it can go and help tell its story and part of the railways as a whole. And as you know, I bought this from Sir William McAlpine, who was a huge mover and shaker in the preserved railway world. He owned Flying Scotsman for a while. In fact, he was the one who brought it back from its ill-fated trip to America and saved it for future generations. And when asked about Flying Scotsman, he famously went that he knew it would be a waste of money and that it was a great expense to save it. But it was a lovely locomotive. And I feel that somewhat, because my engine bears his name and was the last thing that he sold, and was an opportunity for me to meet the man and to get to really talk and get to know the man a little bit, that this is the correct thing to be doing, because I'm sure that he would be absolutely overjoyed by the fact that this silly little locomotive is going to this massive event. And I think it's truly fitting that there is something there that carries his name for the amount of good that he did for heritage railways and for prolonging the railway story. So I'm really proud, but I also feel that he too will be looking down and feeling really proud that this little thing is going, bearing his name, and in some little way, Sir William will still be part of this massive celebration. The other thing that I think is kind of important with this is, to the best of my knowledge, so far no other Rustons have been announced, so this is going to be representing one of the heavyweights of industrial locomotive production by being the Ruston at the event. Might be wrong, there might be other stuff, I haven't seen it yet, or they may still be announced, but certainly this will be representing its class. And as you know, I'm very fond of the 48DS. I think it is the perfect little diesel locomotive, and before I even had my one, I have always loved them since I found out that they were a thing and they existed. Thus, having this and being able to take it to the show to represent all of its brothers and sisters is fantastic. This, as you know, you can get a model of it, is very much going to be the Ruston 48, and that makes me very excited indeed. This silly little thing is going to go and be part of this huge thing, and I cannot wait. So there'll be some videos coming up in the future when we move it there. We'll hopefully have some videos from the event, and then of course bringing it back home again after its big adventure. It is of course the advantage of having a locomotive that only weighs 7.5 tons, because it makes it a lot easier to move. Although moving locomotives is still a painfully expensive experience, this one is doable. So, if you're going to the Greatest Gathering and you're lucky enough to have got yourself a ticket to do this once in a lifetime event, then hopefully we'll see you there. And if not, you're certainly going to see this thing. And that's just mad. I am so proud. This is really beautiful. And I have said this for a very long time with locomotives, and for in fact all of my collection. I'm not just the owner, I'm the curator of it. I'm just looking after it. And as this thing goes on and it does more things, I will become part of its story. And when I'm gone, this thing will still be here. And part of its story, the fact that it's gone to this massive event and the fact that it was there, I will become part of its story, and I will be remembered in the same way that Sir William, when this thing goes to the event, will be remembered and will be there in spirit. And I think that's wonderful. These locomotives have now gone on to be more than they were ever meant to. They have their own story and they take people with them, even when those people aren't there anymore. And I think that's kind of beautiful. So anyway, exciting. It's going to the Greatest Gathering. Hopefully see you there. Can't wait for it. What a stupid thing to be going. So massive, great thing. If you thought the thumbnail and the big announcement were slightly misleading, I'm sorry, but it is technically true. It is indeed going. And that's pretty awesome. So with that, thank you all for watching. And yes, it is working, it's doing stuff, and we've been doing shunting with it actually around the railway, and it's turning out to be I hate to say this, it's turning out to be a really useful little engine. So we've done plenty of work with it. It's been recently used to move things around. And do you know the weirdest thing of having a locomotive is actually, I keep getting updates. So recently it shunted Georgie over the pit over there. And I got a photo of it and said, oh yeah, there it is, that's my loco being used. It's the weirdest thing having a loco, because you don't know when it's being used. You just occasionally get an update and be like, oh, there it is. Anyway, so enough of that. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope to see you at the Greatest Gathering. And what a wonderful thing it's going. Great news. Very excited. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this, how about clicking somewhere over there for another video of the 48, or down there for the video where we actually met Sir William when we went to pick it up. See you later. It's going to this big thing. It's going to the biggest event. It's glorious.